Watch out, this podcast may contain adult content. We're brought to you today by Altered Reality Entertainment, the creators of Empire State Comic-Con. Check it out at escomiccon.com. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to On the Case, an investigative television podcast with me and Casey. We're talking about all the living, breathing Game of Thrones characters ahead of the final season. Casey, who are we talking about today?
We're talking about Beric Dondarrion.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
Of the Brotherhood Without Banners.
I'm Eli. That's the beautiful voice of Casey you're hearing there. Getting like deep and dark.
Yeah, I do all my really bad impressions during the show.
I love
Enjoy.
it. I love it. Okay, so it sounded a lot like your impression of the Hound, which sounds a lot like your impression of everyone.
I don't do an impression of the Hound unless I'm saying the C word.
Okay, gotcha. So, Beric Dondarrion, lesser character, but I kind of feel like he's pretty important.
If he's a lesser character, then it's like the definition of less is more. Because he has a lot of fingerprints across the entire show.
Yeah.
He's a season 1 character that somehow has survived this long despite being basically in battle almost constantly.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Like, he's been in the Riverlands, and like they say, when the countries war, the Riverlands bleed. He's been right in the midst of the action. But, I mean, he has died like 6 times, so.
Yes. Well, then also, he's in Blink and You'll Miss Him part of Season 1, because he's barely in Season 1. And then he gets recast when he returns in Season 3. Is that when he returns? I believe.
No, 2.
It is 2? Okay.
Yeah.
Brotherhood. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because that's when Gendry and all that stuff happened. Yeah. You're right.
Mostly 3, but yeah, he starts in 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of most of the seasons, but yeah, his character kind of pops in and out of the show. Like, you don't always think he's going to come back because he isn't necessarily, you don't know like why he would come back. But that's kind of the beauty of his reincarnations too, is like he doesn't know why the fuck he's coming back to life, and neither does Thoros of Myr, except for that the more it happens, the more they think this guy's got a bigger purpose. And in the books, he comes back before too, but he also brings back a different character who's not in the show anymore. So I feel like his trajectory as a character has changed a little bit. And he's also made true believers of other characters, including the Hound. Yeah. Which is pretty impressive. I mean, he was basically sent to go bring the Mountain to justice, because when Tyrion was captured in Season 1 and Robert goes off for a hunt, Ned is acting hand, and as acting hand, he's been attacked by Jaime Lannister, and he knows that Tywin has the Mountain basically raiding the Riverlands as an attack against the Tullys of Riverrun, because Catelyn is who took Tyrion. And so this man comes and talks to Ned, tells him like what's happening, that they're burning villages and killing people and raping people. And he says, all right, well, Beric Dondarrion, you'll take 50 men of my house guard and 50 men of the watch or whatever, I think it's like the Royal Guard. And they all go, and they're going to go bring the Mountain to justice. What we find out later is the Mountain fucking killed him. And then Thoros' drunk ass somehow brought him back to life. And that's happened several times. They try and bring the Mountain, or the Hound to justice. He kills Beric, and then ends up Beric kind of gives him a new purpose later in the show after all the people that were building that nice little community with the Hound die, and then they go north of the Wall, and et cetera, et cetera. So Beric's been all over the place, and he is a true believer of the Red God, and also the living embodiment of foreshadowing for what happens to Jon Snow in his reincarnation.
So we last see him running for his life.
Yes, with Tormund.
With Tormund over the top of the wall there.
Yep, at Eastwatch.
So what, we think they're going to go to Castle Black and be like, yo, Eastwatch is done.
So there's some people that think they're fucking dead.
Really?
I mean, well, they're up 700 fucking feet. All right, and you're running downstairs as fast as you can, but that ice is being destroyed.
Can't they just go, like, can't they walk from Eastwatch to Castle Black just on top of the wall?
They could, potentially, but I believe they were running down the wall. I
felt like they were running at the top of the wall. I didn't think that they were going down it, but that was my interpretation of that scene.
When I looked at it, when you see them zooming into Eastwatch before the attack happens, you see that instead of an elevator system like they have at Castle Black, they have serpentining stairs that go back and forth. And it looked like when they're running that they run and they kind of fall down, and then there's a guy that gets fucking vaporized and they go down more, and then like the ice is like falling down on top of them. It almost looks like an avalanche. So I feel like they were like a good portion of the wall down when the wall came down. Now, could they have gotten just a little bit farther, like west, basically, to where they're still on the wall, but they're just not on the part like
that they broke through?
They broke through, like everything like that is on to the right. I think they probably just got knocked unconscious, and maybe the snow or the melting of the ice made some sort of padded place where they could fall and not die.
Okay.
But yeah, they're gonna probably,
because those people are dying on screen. Like, you're not getting an off-screen death for Tormund, and like it's gonna be clear. Because I didn't think they were dead. I thought they were running on top of the wall. Like
maybe they started that way.
That's just how I interpreted it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It looked like the wall was coming down all around them.
Gotcha.
So that's why people think they're dead. But I think, honestly, that Beric and Tormund, if they're smart, they'll probably go straight to Winterfell and not waste their time going to Castle Black. But if they did go to Castle Black, they'd have a good group of men with them that aren't needed there. You know, if the White Walker army is going south and they're going to go right past the wall, then there's no way the Night's Watch are going to help
Needs
at all.
to stay at Castle Black,
Yeah, and it's a little too late to send a Raven, so they might just go straight to Castle Black, have them send a Raven to the Shadow Tower, which is the only other tower that's manned by the Night's Watch, saying basically, like, all men of the Watch go down to Winterfell.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then they'll try and warn, maybe they try and warn the Umbers. It's going to be hard for them to be a step ahead of the Night King at this point, though.
Yeah, those Umbers are getting murdered.
Yeah.
They're getting murdered. Okay, so let's refocus on Beric, though.
Beric.
So let's start. Actually, I kind of want to start with Beric's worst moments, and then roll into his, because like we sometimes start worst, sometimes start best. A worst moment for me that I just wanted to point out is that when the writers of the show decided to write out his homie with the arrows, and they were just like, "Hey, going forward, we're just gonna have Thoros of Myr and Beric." Because like in the books, it was like that was one of my favorite guys, the archer. And
he's really funny in the show too.
Yeah, you need a Legolas, like.
Totally.
And so I just didn't understand that, and I get it. Game of Thrones can only have so many characters and so many speaking lines and so many actors returning. I get that, but
I don't think they even like necessarily wrote them out. It's more just like when we meet them again, the Brotherhood Without Banners, there's like no one left.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess reading, this is one of those few times where you're like, oh, as a book reader, it's just I really connected with Beric and the Brotherhood Without Banners in the books.
Absolutely.
And I really just dug their aesthetic and them in general.
Yeah, what they're all about.
Yeah, it's Robin Hood. It's essentially Robin Hood. Totally. It's tons of fun.
When they get caught between being like fighting for the king and fighting against the king, and now they're just like, well, fuck the Starks and fuck the Lannisters. Anyone who makes the Riverlands, makes the common folk bleed. Anyone who's hurting these people, because during times of war, even if you're fighting for the right side, there are bad men and there are righteous men, and they're on both sides. And we saw that too with the Lannister encampment that Arya stumbles upon with Ed Sheeran and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes there's good guys fighting for the jerks too, you know. So they were just their own group. They're like, we know what's right. We're going to do what's right. And we're going to hide in caves and be smart and basically be like the police of the Riverlands.
Yeah, so I just think that the worst moment has to be that like they wrote out all of... and maybe that the show is only 8 seasons, and then if it was 10 seasons, maybe we would have had more time to flush out the Brotherhood Without Banners and have them stay in the show. But I was just sad that it just ended up.
If we had budget, we'd see them fight the mountain.
I was just sad that it ended up being boiled down to just Thoros and Beric, because in the books it's just, they're a little more lively. There's more of them, and it's more a merry band. Yeah, so that's my worst moment for him.
I think my worst moment for Beric. I mean, he dies a lot, but that's not really that big of a deal.
Because, he can get resurrected.
I think the part that sucks for Beric the most is when he gives up Gendry and Arya, like, is cursing him just as much as she is just cursing the Hound. And that's got to be pretty rough, you know, because they're trying to do the right thing. I think they're also trying to serve the Red God. And it's this weird gray area that these characters fall in. It's like, they handed him over to this wicked witch that we know does horrible things, but also this... Melisandre's trying to save the world. She's just kind of fucked up in the way she does it. She thinks these sacrifices are necessary. She misinterprets the flames all the time. And it's like, you know what she's trying to do, but you hate for her for how she's doing it. And it's the same way with these Brotherhood Without Banners. You know, they had to do a bad thing with giving him up, but they needed the gold to do the right thing to save all these other people. And they didn't know exactly what was going to happen to him, but they also didn't really care. So, but Arya cared, and Gendry's her friend and potential love interest. So I think having someone like look up to you and then you betray them, and then their friends that are also kind of looking up to you, or just like, oh, you're the worst, and she just runs away, and he's like, I remember watching that scene. I watched it again recently, and he kind of looks down at his own chest like, she's kind of fucking right. Like, he knows that it sucks.
Begrudgingly admitting it to himself, like, understanding in the moment,
Yeah. He's like, I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to do my best.
You ready for another worst moment?
What?
That's kind of, like, writer-based again. It's that the writers had to kill off Thoros because, and it's not because like Thoros, like, because like the worst moment would be like losing his friend to the polar bear. Like that's a worst moment for him. Like from the character is real and that's a terrible thing he had to go through. But like the writers had to kill Thoros because you can't have a resurrector around in a high stakes situation when you're like, oh, that person gets killed. Well, Thoros will just resurrect him. Like you just can't. You have to neutralize.
You can't just spam that spell over and over. There's a huge cooldown.
Yeah, you have to neutralize the resurrector, and so like that's like a writing thing that they had to kill Thoros. Like when we were going into that episode, I was like, yeah, Thoros has to die.
To be fair, he goes into most battles drunk, so it was a matter of time.
True, but like also like they could have beat that polar bear. Like in my head, I'm just like, yo, like that many guys fighting a polar bear. I know there was a storm.
Well, we talked about it with the Hound. That was one of my bad moments because he was afraid of the fire.
Yeah,
once the bear was on fire.
Yeah, but like if John was just like stabbing it with Longclaw, wouldn't it have immediately died because it's Valyrian steel?
You'd think so, but I don't think the bear kind of like swoops in from the side.
Yeah, and I know there's the storm,
and like, they're in a long trail of dudes. Yeah, they're not all in a huddle.
And the way it's cut, it almost seems like there's two bears. But then I realized upon rewatching that it was only one. But the way they cut it seemed like there was one much closer than further away, so I feel like the editing was a little off.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell what they were looking at. They're like, what the hell is that? Is that a fucking bear?
Yeah, but then like when it gets closer to them, and then it's like another angle, so it's like I felt like there were more than one bear at some point, but then it's clear there's only one.
Well, they have to shoot things weird when there's CGI.
Yeah, involved. And then also like it's in a snowstorm, so I get that like...
Yeah, they couldn't see shit.
Yeah, but still, for me, I'm just like, that didn't play out. And I know that we had to get to the Thoros is off the chessboard portion of it, but like... I felt like the way it got there was sloppily handled, and then also like Thoros had to go through that.
Well, he also technically Thoros had to burn his body and stuff too.
Yeah,
with his sword.
Or Beric had to burn his body.
He had to watch him die, but at least he got to have a little bit of rum before he died.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about good moments for Beric then.
Okay, good moments. Shit, I mean, just like his introduction, I really love. Yeah. I love him when he says to the Hound, like when he's like, "Who's gonna fight me?" Then he's like, "You'll be fighting me." Like I love that.
Yeah, he has a very like really good fantasy introduction, like you're saying. Like you're like you immediately know who this guy is.
He's important,
and it's very, I think, outside of Game of Thrones, it's just very like kind of an homage to Lord of the Rings or other like Robin Hood kind of things. Like he's very like he's playing a bit or a part that we know before. It's very recognizable, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think his character has a lot of humanity to it. You know, he's not magical, even though he's around magical things.
It's righteousness. It's like piping off the screen. It's
is, but he's not like a Boy Scout.
No, no. It's like you're like. Oh,
also, I love when he just like lights his.
That's what I was gonna say. Anytime he lights up the sword, man, it's
because that's magic.
The best moment.
And he does have some sort of magic. He's learned that from Thoros. Because like it almost looks like when you first see it, like he's cutting his hand on the blade, his blood is igniting the flame.
Is that what it is? I always thought that it was.
Because he like runs his hand up the hills, and then like the sword just goes up.
I thought
it looks like he's also speaking.
So I think maybe we have a different interpretation. I think in the show that it's not. I don't think it's anything to do with magic that lights their swords. I think that they dip their blades in a certain material, and they have something on their gloves that's like a flint and tinder, and it sparks it. I'm pretty sure in the show that it's not a magic thing. I think it's a
maybe.
I think it's a piece of like.
I just didn't see a spark. I saw was the flame.
I'm pretty sure it's like like I've seen like on the costume. It's like something on his glove that's like a piece of
weird
like
flint.
Yeah. And then they always coat their blades.
If their sheath has like oil in it or something.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not a magic thing and it's a mechanic thing that just the Brotherhood developed and they do.
Well, when you hear about Thoros lighting a sword on fire, you know that it's. That he does it as like a trick with like some sort of wax because he ruins whatever sword he uses like most of the time. But when they do it north of the wall, it almost just looked like he was holding the sword and then just like spoke. He was so close to his mouth too that I thought it looked magical the way he just like.
Yeah, I think in the books it's more magical, but I think in the show it is a mechanical thing, not a magical.
It'd have to be a really good sword too to not like just melt.
Yeah. The next thing I was going to bring up for a top moment is the first time he's resurrected. And then, also the second time he's resurrected. On my list here, the third time he was resurrected. The fourth. Not the fifth. That was a bad one.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fun one. Yeah, the head one. Yeah, but...
I like the sixth time.
The sixth time he got resurrected.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Split him in tween.
What do you think his happy ending is? What does that look like?
Because he's a servant of the Red God, I mean, it's got to be with defeating the Great Other and getting rid of the threat of the White Walkers. I think him and his flaming sword have a bit to play, and maybe if it's a magic trick, he could teach it. If it's just a trick with like some wax and a flint, he could teach it too. Because that trick, could you imagine seeing about 10,000 guys with flaming swords fighting? Yeah. That would be amazing. And I think, honestly...
Give me an Unsullied with a flaming spear. Give me a Dothraki with a flaming horse.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Flaming Valyrian steel, flaming...
What do they call the Sitars? Is that what it is? Oh,
an Auroch.
An Auroch, yeah.
Yeah, the curved blade.
The Dothraki have Aurochs, right?
Yeah, it's curved so that you can slice someone while riding a horse and not get your sword stuck.
Yeah, we were talking about that before.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think, honestly, if he learned it from Thoros, that means it's sort of a tactic of the Red God, right? So if Melisandre does bring back an army or like the Red Hand or whatever from Volantis, that might be a trick they use.
So you think
to see the army of fire versus the army of ice.
So for you, his happy ending is tied up in just defeating the Night King. That's really all it is.
I hope so. Yeah, I think it's like he says, whenever he dies, he's a little bit less him. So I don't think he cares about dying.
Or about living, yeah.
Or about living. Yeah. I think he knows that he's been brought back for a reason. That reason should be to aid in a significant way.
I think that the happy ending is that he gets to die knowing that he did his work. Like, he served the Lord's purpose. Like that. But actually, as I like to say, Casey...
Please.
Yeah,
tell me the real one.
You ready for the real one? How ridiculous is it?
So factual.
This is gonna get really ridiculous.
Of course.
It's that the Song of Ice and Fire was kind of like Star Wars. You know how like they're always just like, oh, they said that Anakin would bring balance to the Force. Well, he did. There were a ton of Jedi and very few Sith, so he actually factually brings balance.
Two apiece. Yeah.
So our Westeros world, it is at balance right now because the Song of Ice and Fire. There's ice forces, there's people fire forces, but the fire god, it's actually been employed this whole time. He just wanted to neutralize the ice people because they'd be the only people that could rise up against him. And then like Surtur exploding from Asgard, the fire god comes in and he just starts knocking down kingdoms left and right, turning Westeros into a flaming hellscape.
He just rollers over everything.
Yeah, he rollers over everything. And then you just see like Melisandre coming to climax for the first time in her 400-year life because of how much fire there is. And she's just like, ah! And then like
Davos is just shaking his head like, fuck this.
Yeah, and then Beric is just like, well, I mean, I guess I did the Lord's will as the land burns.
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny.
And he essentially becomes the Human Torch, like the Herald, like the Silver Surfer to R'hllor as the Galactus.
I do think there might be a little bit of a misleading part about who's good and who's bad in the fight for the Great Other and for the fight of R'hllor because of the way things are. But that is actually something I'm going to save for our Bran episode.
Which is next. Fantastic. Okay, so we got to the happy endings. We got to we really haven't. What's the sad ending? What do you think? I mean, it's just he just dies, right?
Yeah. I think he'd just be. Maybe he's crushed in the snow. He just can't get up. Yeah, that'd be pretty
I kind of think a sad ending would be like the Lord of Light just decides to not bring him back one of the times.
Sure.
Like that, I think like that's like he has so much faith and then like dude's just like, dude, it's been 11 times now.
Yeah. Well, in the books, he gives the kiss of life to Catelyn Stark, who becomes Lady Stoneheart after the Red Wedding because she's like in the river and they find her dead body. And that's the end of Beric. So I think the best ending for me would be if he could do something like that in the show
to save someone, and that's
maybe Jon. Maybe if Jon falls again because he's been resurrected. Well, the fire god has already chosen him as someone who's important.
That makes me laugh because you call it the kiss of life. So like I've always thought that he has to like physically kiss him. So like Jon Snow's just like bleeding out, and Beric comes over and gives him a smooch on the cheek. No. That's hilarious.
I think it's more like the way he kisses his sword. In my interpretation, like how it like comes to life. Yeah. That'd be kind of cool.
See, and the show's always a little less magical than the book, so I couldn't, in my brain, like, this is kind of jumping ahead to theories, but I couldn't see the kiss of life happening. As cool as I think that would be, I don't know. Like, because...
Well, if you think about it, if they're being...
Because, like, the best person you could use it on is, like, Arya, right? Wouldn't that bring his story full circle?
Oh. Or Gendry.
Or Gendry, yeah.
Be interesting. I just think I want to limit the amount of fire whites there are.
Okay.
And being
you want to bring it down to Jon for
just
Azor?
him and Jon, yeah. And what if like that's his purpose?
Okay.
Is to bring him back when he needs to be brought back. And because if you think about it, if they're being brought back by the power of light, of fire, then it's almost like a candle passing its flame to the other candle. And then going out.
I could see him resurrecting Jon. It's just like they've already done it the once.
Yeah.
So like
it'd be a little cheap if you could just do it over and over.
Again.
Because it's like you said, that's why you get rid of Thoros.
You see Beric dying to give Jon life again.
So it's not like if Jon, just unlimited supply.
Yeah, but I also feel like if Jon died one more time, that he would really just want them to leave him dead.
Oh, yeah, he did the first time. He told them that. So he said, if I die again, don't bring me back. He says it to Melisandre. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe give the kiss of life to someone else. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe Bran. That'd be pretty cool if Bran ever got stabbed.
Thoros just kissing Bran on the forehead?
Yeah, that'd be really interesting, though, because Bran's powers might not be connected to the fire god at all.
Okay, yeah, because he could be...
Yeah.
Yep. Like we say.
Get into that later.
Like we say. Okay, so do we think Beric's going to live or die?
I would say die.
98% die is where I'm at.
Yeah, I think he dies. He doesn't really have family to go back to. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have like a kinship with anyone besides maybe the Hound.
He's one of like the people that's like a warrior that could die in battle with the White Walkers that the audience wouldn't necessarily be heartbroken over.
Oh, I will be. Because he's such a great character. I mean, look, how many characters like lived to serve Ned Stark after he was dead? You know, I think he has a special place in the lore of this story because of how loyal he is and how little regard for his own life he had. That he would keep going back to battle after dying over and over just to do the right thing. Okay. So I'll be sad when he dies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me, I'm take him or leave him. I'm like, whatever. Beric's cool.
I was literally Beric Dondarrion for Halloween this year.
Oh.
I had a flaming sword and everything.
And awesome. Yeah. That is awesome. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, any other theories for Beric?
No.
He's not Azor Ahai?
No. I think it'd be really cool if he could meet back up with Melisandre and see the army of the fire god and maybe like be like the head, like the vanguard
head of the
That'd be sweet.
So if he's gonna die, do you think it's like he dies just in random battle, or do you think it is giving the kiss of life? Like if you had to put a percentage, where are you leaning?
Well, the kiss of life would be cool, but like you said, magic doesn't always translate to screen like it does onto the book.
Because you need to explain it so much.
You do, and because then, if it's so easy, you can just do it once it's been done to you.
Can do it, yeah.
Then, it makes it a little less special. So I don't think that. I think maybe somehow he could use his flaming sword to go out with like a big bang, like igniting a giant thing of gas or like a fuel or oil or something. Mm-hmm. Like if they're smart, they would dig a giant trench of oil around Winterfell to light. What if like he went down to like light up like 1,000 walkers or something? That'd be really cool. I'd like to see something like that. Because I mean, you bring him back to life over and over, he has to do something big. Mm-hmm. You know, just like we talk about Bran, his powers haven't come full circle yet. There's got to be something up his sleeve. So I think Beric's got one big deed left, and I hope it's either really explosive and kills a lot of bad guys, or really cool and helps the good guys, and maybe in a kiss of life.
Well, he better, because they kept him around for so long. So like,
what makes him so special? Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
There has to be a bigger plan.
Okay, well, on that note, that brings us to the end of this episode of On the Case, Game of Thrones. Casey and Eli. We're brought to you, as always, by Altered Reality Entertainment. They are the creators of Empire State Comic-Con. Check it out at escomiccon.com. There's cosplay, there's artists, there's vendors, and more. Galore. Woo!
All kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. And next episode, we kind of teased it earlier, we're going to talk about Sir Brandon Stark.
Oh, yeah.
He's not a sir.
No. but he is very important. Brandon Stark.
So important that they left him out of an entire season. That's how important he is.
For training.
Yeah.
How else are you going to beat the Night King? Come on. He's very important.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. Okay, guys, I guess bye.